Okay,
So the
so this is
pain
kind of,
finding is the main thing that I need to
I'm
work on. I
sorry.
feel like pain finding is the main thing that I need to
Yeah,
work on. I don't ask enough questions for sure.
yeah. Okay, so this that you start developing pain questions when you start thinking about how to keep a client going, right? So I'll give you some. So again, it's so tell me why were you interested in wanting to chat with me, about final expense? And then they're going to give you all kinds of, usually they're going to give you sort of a generic response. Well, I just want to see what this cost, you know. Awesome. Well, we're definitely going to get there. Can I ask you a more deeper question? Sure. Who's the loved one that you're trying to take care of that's going to have to take care of all the mess when you're gone, right? Who's the loved one that you care about? And then you just shut up, let them answer the question. This really, nothing happens until they can identify that person. Like, I mean, to the point where they might say, oh, I don't know. Mike, I don't have any children. I might have a nephew. And, but I don't really know. You know what I would say to that? I'd go, well, why would you care then if you died? You know, if no one's going to, if there's no one that you're trying to take care of with this, then, you know, what does it matter then if they just throw you in a pine box and stick you in the ground? See, it sounds like I'm trying to talk them out of it, right? And I might. They say, well, you're right. I really don't care. It's like perfect because I don't want you buying something and then a month later saying, why do I need this? And then canceling it. Okay, I'm just trying to help people that want to be helped. So if they go that far, then I'll go that far. But typically they're going to say, well, my daughter Mary, or, my son John. Well, whatever. They're going to name someone they love.
Have you
Right.
had someone that's gone that far and been that petty?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I said, well, I don't know why we're even talking. And they go, what do you mean? Well, if there's no one that you care about, no one that is going to take care of all your stuff, then, does it matter then that you die and, they have to figure out how to bury you somewhere? I shut up. Silence is your power, dude. Silence is your superpower. You know, you might think that you have to keep talking. No, you can't. You don't have to keep talking. You make them talk because you fill the gap with silence,
Hmm.
right? Because people don't like silence. So they feel compelled to fill the void with their voice. And I don't care if I'm sitting there staring at them. I don't care if it's 5 minutes we're staring at each other. I am not going to talk first, right? So you have to be comfortable with being able to do that. So I just wait until they answer. And, they're going to come up with something, But when they see who their loved one is, I don't just stop there. I would say, well, tell me about John, your son. Is he, do you have other children? Oh, yeah, yeah, I've got 4 kids. So is John the most responsible one? And I'll laugh. Oh, yeah, yeah, he'll take care of everything. Okay, that's great. So does John live in the area? Right? Here's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get them to think about who they love. The more they think about it, the more they feel something for them. So that what they're doing to buy this policy is a transference of their love to that person. See, because you're trying to get them emotional, right? People buy an emotion they justify by logic, right? So you're trying to get them feeling the emotion they have for their son. That's why you don't ever call them the beneficiary or your loved one. You call them by their name because that's the name that triggers the parental things in their brain, right? So everything's John now. So do you have any grandchildren with John? Oh, yeah, we have 3 grandkids. Oh, wow, that's cool. How old are they? right? Do you see them often? They're local. You must have fun seeing them. You see them a lot. Oh yeah, yeah. We take care of them one day a week. Oh, that must be a lot of fun. I hear grandkids are a joy. Oh yeah, you know, so how old are your grandkids? Do you see if they start lighting up, then I get them talking about the grandkids, right? I'll even relate to them. I'll go, now they tell me that grandkids are more fun than the kids you actually had. Is that true? Right? I'll joke around with them and they'll say, oh yeah, it's so true. I go, that's so awesome. So so let me summarize. Okay, so this is where you kind of bring everything, because what you did was bond a rapport, but it was also pain finding. Because then you you hit the summary and we go, well, let me summarize what I'm hearing then. Okay. You're looking for a policy that when you die, you're not going to put John in any financial predicament to have to pay for the funeral and all your final expenses. Now, am I hearing you right? Is that what you were looking for? Dude, that is the key question. Because the minute they say yes, then boom, your closing meter is getting closer to closing the sale because you nailed down exactly what they're looking for, right? And you might have put the words in their mouth, but when they say yes, they're confirming that that's what they're looking for, right? Does that make sense? So again, here's what so what I'm hearing you say then, Mary, is that John, your son, you want to make sure that when you die, you're not going to leave him a bill for the funeral. The company's going to send him a check to pay for everything. So he's not under any financial strain or burden. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Right. Boom. Say, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, great. I'm going to help you do that. I'm going to help you find the best program. Okay. And this is where you get into the upfront contract side of it. It's like, I'm going to ask you a number of questions so we can make sure that I can find the best policy for you. I'm going to ask you a question about your health, operations, medications, just so I can get a clear picture. Because out of 76 companies, there's going to be a company or two that are going to be better than the other ones. So I need to ask, a few more questions, and so on. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the best company. I'm going to calculate 3 different quote options so I can give you a choice, and then you choose the one that you want, that you feel comfortable with budget wise. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fill out an electronic application to see if you qualify. Because I would love to approve it. You're a nice lady. I'd love to approve it, but I can't. We just have to fill out this electronic form, requesting them to underwrite you. And so all we're doing right now is seeing if you qualify. So once we figure out what you can afford, fill out an application, we're going to send it in. We're going to see if you qualify. Nothing more than that. So it's not any kind of major decision. All you're going to do is just figure out what you can afford, how much coverage you need, and then I'm going to help you put together the application. And then it's up to the company to think about you. So tonight, there's nothing to think about. So tonight is not a think about it night, because there's nothing to think about until we know that you're approved. So that's all we're doing today. We're just going to get you approved. And if you're not approved, then I'm going to come back. I'm going to give you some other options that I know that we can get you approved on, and we'll just take it from there. Mary, does that sound fair to you? How's that sound to you, Mary? How's that feel? Is that agreeable? Are you agreeable to that? And then you just shut up and let them say whatever they're going to say. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, cool. Right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. And then you go through asking questions, go to the underwriting, coming up with, right? So there are ways to set up getting a social security number and all that. One of the first things to do though on a telesale is, before we get started, let me send you my contact information. Now, what like some of our people are doing is 5 minutes before the appointment, they're sending their digital business card and a copy of their license, like 5 minutes before they're texting it. It's like, hey, Mary, this is Alex. I just want to give you my information before I call you in about 5 minutes. And that's been increasing our show rates. So you send them, your digital business card and uh, a copy of your license, like text it to them if you can. And
I'm
then,
gonna start doing that.
yeah, so that'll help with credibility, right? So, so that's kind of the essence, right? It's very compressed, but you're doing parts of the submarine because you're kind of checking off on rapport, upfront contract, right? You're checking off the pain. Who do they love, right? Even the pain finding, you can ask another. So here's a very effective question. They tell you all about John. They tell you how much they don't want to, um, so you can do it after the summary. So this is kind of locks down the pain finding. So what I'm hearing you say is blah, 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 blah. And then they say, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Okay. Well, let me ask you a question. What if for some reason tonight you decide not to go through with this? You want to, you're just don't want to move forward for whatever reason. And then let's say, God forbid tomorrow you die. Tell me, by not making a decision to take care of it tonight, you die tomorrow. Tell me what John's going to have to go through to take care of all your stuff. And then just shut up. Now, this is where you can start adding things in. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, Mary, have you planned a funeral in the last 5 years? Actually, no, I haven't. Have you planned a funeral at all? Well, yeah, 20 years ago when my dad died, I helped in the planning. So, 10 years ago, how much did a funeral cost? About a funeral back then, it was about, $10,000. Oh, okay. So that was 10 years ago? Yeah, 10 years ago. So do you think 10 years later, today, do you think funerals are more expensive than what you paid or less expensive? See what you're doing? They're going to answer that question. They don't have a, you really didn't give them a choice. They're going to say, well, it's probably going to be more expensive. Yeah, it's probably going to be more expensive. The average funeral now is running about $15,000. Oh, wow. That's just a basic funeral. They could even go higher than that. So let me re-ask it this way. John's going to have to come up with $15,000 to cover your funeral, just your funeral, not to mention getting rid of all the stuff in your house. How's John going to find that money? Does he have money on a credit card? Does he have room on a credit card to put all that on a credit card? And he shut up, right?
Is that actually how people would deal with that situation by like taking out credit cards?
Who cares? Here's what I mean by that. What you're doing is you're making them imagine John having to put the whole deadgum thing on a credit card.
They don't know.
Yeah. You're just suggesting ways that they're going to, or is he going to have to take an equity loan out of his house to pay for your funeral? Or is he going to have to take $15,000 out of his kid's college fund? Like, I'm not joking, dude. Like, closing is making the client feel the pain. So when you start suggesting these things, like putting on a credit card, taking it out of his kid's college fund, you know, um, getting a loan, an equity line of credit on his house. Do you think those are options for him? See, what you're doing is you're in their mind, they're like, it's horrific thinking that they're putting their son under that kind of financial burden. Right? That's what you want to know about the grandkids. Because then when you start saying, so is he going to have to take it out of their kid's college fund? Like you're sticking daggers in her heart, right? In a very calm and nice way. You're super nice, super nurturing, and she goes, "Oh, I don't know what he's going to do." Okay. Well, well, that's good. It sounds to me like you're really serious about it and wanting to protect John from any of those things happening to him. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing you say? Yeah. Okay. Well, that's why I'm here. I'm going to help you protect John from any of that stuff happening. Right. So that's taking pain finding to another level. Okay. And if you're on a telesale, it has to be quick, you know. Make sense?
100%. That makes sense. And
So yeah.
oh no, you keep going first. I remember what I'm gonna
Well,
say.
so when you get this recording back, write down questions, dude. Don't leave questions to just at the spur of the moment because you're going to be nervous. When you're nervous, you're not going to think of the questions. But if you write them down, questions you can ask, you're talking to them. You can look down, just say you can just ask a question that you wrote down already, right? Be armed already with what you can ask because your mind's going to shut down because you're nervous. So if you've got a list that you can ask pain finding questions, it'll bail you out every time. And then as you start getting used to continuing the questions when they answer the question, then that's where you start getting, you know, developing the skill, right? So
That right makes down. Oh,
questions are your superpower.
you're gonna. I need. I'm gonna ask for more. The budget process. I know you specifically said pain immediately makes the budget process much easier because once they've been put in that state of pain, they're willing to pay more to not let those things happen, right?
Yeah.
But how would you frame the budget questions to where I'm not just asking, how much do you want to pay a month? Does that make sense?
Well, so you know, um, you ask it with softening statements. Okay. So I call softening statements. Now you're going to say, now, Mary, look, you know how expensive funerals are, but you probably live on a fixed income, right? Okay. So what you're doing is you're acknowledging that you know that they know that you know that they know that they live on a fixed income. Okay. So you say it's like you live on a fixed income, right? Yeah. Now, this is not going to be free. Okay. There's some, you know, and sometimes you see stuff on the TV that says, this is, you know, 3 pennies a day is all this costs. And I know that those are just hype. They're quoting, super, super healthy people buying super low amounts of insurance. Okay. So, Mary, let me just break the news to you that insurance pricing is based on your age and your health. The older you are, it's going to be more expensive. And the less healthy you are, it's going to be more expensive. Like for example, if you're 22 and super healthy, it's going to be super cheap compared to, you know, a 79-year-old who may not be in the best state of health. Does that make sense, Mary? Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So what you're doing is you're fertilizing the ground to ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So so you got the setup that you realize that they're on fixed income.
Mm-hmm.
And then you phrase everything again, John. So in order to help John out, to make sure John is not going to suffer a major financial burden because of your death, give me a range that you can afford on a monthly basis. What kind of a budget range are we working with here? So I can figure out a way to kind of get you into that, or, you know, so it helps me with putting together some options for you on a monthly basis. Between what and what are you comfortable with? Okay. And let's say they say, well, I probably, because it's when you start asking that question, they're going to start thinking, what's the most they can afford in terms of budget? So they're going to give you like a high number that they can afford. So they're thinking, yeah, I could probably go $75 a month, you know, okay. And if options are lower than that, tell me a lower range. Well, definitely if it's like $25 a month, that's something I can do. Okay, so you're saying somewhere between 25 and $75 a month. That's kind of in your comfort zone right there. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to help you. We're going to figure out options that'll be in that range. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so when you figure out options, the options that you figure out is you're going to try to stay in that range, but for example, but you're going to have to really see how much coverage that they can get. So, I might do a small amount for cremation, 5,000 death benefit. I might go 7,500 death benefit, 10,000 death benefit if they're super old and they're unhealthy, but I'll try to get it within that budget range. At least one of the options will be in the budget range. Okay. Now, another setup question to help you with the budget, is you can ask the question, are you looking at cremation or are you looking at a full-blown funeral? You know, which, you know, which way are you wanting to go? Right? Because cremation is going to be lower
Much
cost.
cheaper.
And then, the funeral. So those are setup questions to ask. So what do you think where you'd like to be, budget wise? And then see, because all the things that you're asking are closing questions disguised as, interest questions. Because when they commit to a budget, they're further committing to taking care of this, right? Every time they answer a question with something, they're further locking themselves in to a decision, to making a decision. That's all you're doing, helping them, make the right decision for them. Right. So that's kind of the way that you can ask the budget question, but you got to nurture that answer out of them. Make sense?
Definitely makes sense. I guess it's because I've been playing or doing the prospects dance according to Sandler. I've just been letting them come in and say, "Oh, I just need the price, just need the price," and then eventually I just say, "All right, well," and I'll quote them up, and then they'll just run, and then I'll chase, and then I'll never get a call back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I,
That's one thing, Sandler, don't let them steal your prices. You
yeah,
know, they have
I
to
can't.
commit, they have to commit to the process the way you laid it out. Well, I'm looking for prices. Like, ma'am, I can give you all kinds of prices, but you know, most people that just want prices, they want to shop other pricing. And I can give you good price. We have 75 companies, right? But I only help people that are committed to wanting to take care of this. Look, if you're not committed to want to take care of this, then I mean, I can throw out all kinds of prices. Like, how about $10 a month? Honestly, dude, I will say it's like, okay, I'll give you a price $10 a month. Well, what's that? It's like, I mean, if you're shopping, I can give you some for $10 a month. Honestly, I can give you some for $10 a month. Now, I don't know if that's going to be what you want, but if all you want are prices, I'll give you prices. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I hear that. You can imagine I hear that a lot, don't you? I mean, I hear that all the time. And what ends up happening is I'll give them a price and then they run. So now I've learned, ma'am, just to give you the lowest price I can give you. And if you want to know what that price involves, well, then that means a commitment to want to take care of it. So, okay, so let's back up. What is that price? That price like an accidental policy, then get like 100,000 for $10. But they don't deserve to know what that is because because they're not committing to any kind of process of me understanding what their needs are. Right. So I don't, it's not my policy to help people that are wanting to shop me, you know. But they say stuff like, I go, well, I'm curious now. It sounds like I'm in a price competition. What's the lowest price you found out there?
Mm.
I just want a price. Okay, I'll give you a price. It sounds to me like you've gotten a bunch of prices already. How many prices have you gotten? See, I'm going to ask some questions. Keeps me in control. Well, I've only got one. Ah, okay. It's probably too expensive for you, isn't it? Well, I don't know. Well, I mean, what did you get? And what company is it with? Because chances are we represent that company. Well, it's, $59 a month for 10,000. Hmm, really? And that's guaranteed to cover your whole life for your entire life, right? And most people don't know. They're going to come up with some BS or whatever. It's like, well, so how important is it for me to beat that price? Like if I can give you something lower, a pricing that's lower with a better company, or maybe even the same with a better company, or maybe better options. Are you going to want to take my price and then go to the next guy and shop my price with them? Like, dude, I'm going to be straight up with them. Like, you can tell I've done this dance 5,000 times, right? So I'm going to let that kick in. I'll say, so you're probably just going to want a price and then run and, you know, is that what's going to happen here? They say, well, I'm not ready to make a decision. Okay, cool. That's cool. Well, I'll tell you what, I have 75 carriers. Chances are anyone you get a price from, I probably represent them. So if you want to, spend several hours shopping with other people, come back to me, tell me how much, which company, and what coverage, and then I'll see if I can beat it with a better company. Fair enough? Well, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, this is how I work. I'm in the business to protect people with legitimate companies with legitimate pricing that they can afford. That's my job. So take care. Have a good day. I shut down. I'll hang up before they do. Right. And then I go to the next appointment or whatever. Right. So you got to have, you got to be bold enough to, to the point where you know what you are and you know what your business is about. And you're not going to be begging for people to buy from you. Right. I'm not in the business of being, the answer man. Right. I'm in the business of taking care of people. So they don't want to play my game, then I'm taking my ball and going home. I could give a rip. I've left homes. Like I'd sit down with them and they say, all right, what's your pricing? Hold on. And then I go through the game that I go with you. And I said, well, I tell you what, let me know when you're ready. Here's my card. I get up and leave. And they think it's a ploy. They think it's you know, a sales play. They go, well, hold on. You haven't even told me any prices. It's like, look, I give you prices. You're going to, tell me that you want to think about it. I'm going to leave here anyway. And then you're going to shop me with 20 other agents. And I'd rather be the last agent you meet than the guy in the middle. So when you're serious about wanting to take care of family with a serious product that's going to be the best pricing for you and your health situation, give me a call. I get up, I give him the card and I'll leave. I will go straight to the door and get the hell out of there. Right. I don't need to spend more time with someone who's going to waste my time. Right. And the reason why I'm able to do that is because I know that I'm going to sit down with someone who appreciates my time and is so glad I came over to their house. And they will say that over and over again, thank you so much for taking care of me. I appreciate it so much. And, you know, here's a piece of pie to take home with you. Right. I mean, seriously, that happens. But so people know that, I don't mess around and that I want to help them. but I'm not going to help them on their terms. I'm going to help them on my terms. Right? Does that make sense?
100%. I'm never gonna play that game again.
Nope. You got to honor your business. You know, so, when you start playing that game, it's like, well, who are you trying to, let's just cut to the chase. Who do you love that you're trying to take care of?
Mm.
Well, my son, John, he's going to take care of things. Okay. Well, tell me about John. Why do you want him to be the one to take care of your stuff? See, it's kind of throwing them off, right? You're getting them thinking about the thing that they're supposed to think about, the person they love. And you get them talking about that, then they start giving you permission to continue, right? Because you want to know who they want to take care of. So if they continue to let me go forward that way, then I'll keep going forward, you know. So makes sense?
Makes total sense.
So it's very simple. Just questions, questions, questions that move them through the process. And and that's why I have a checklist. Did I cover pain? Did I cover upfront contract? Did I um, you know, cover budget? Did I cover, what we're gonna do? What we're gonna do now? That decision process, right? So it's not a think about it night to night. We're just you're just going to make a decision on how much you can afford, and we're going to see if the insurance carrier will approve you. That's all we're doing tonight. There's no thinking about it until we know that you're qualified. So that's kind of your out right there. Because people think they're making the big decision. You can't make them think they're making a big decision because that's, they want to think about a big decision. They never think about wanting to think about a small decision, right? So small decision is, let's just see if you qualify, right? So make it kind of in bite-sized chunks.
It's more of your ability to like fluently tell me these things and ask me these questions and do this role play on the fly. How, you know what I'm
Well,
saying?
well, remember, I've been in business 25 years. So, you know, when I was brand new, like I said, I had crutches when I was brand new. I had a 3x5 cart. And and then you go into enough homes. See, and that's what we're talking about. Look, you're at the beginning of the journey. I'm telling you to go through a tunnel, and I'm telling you what's on the other side, but you don't know yet until you go through the tunnel. So you're going through the tunnel right now. You have to trust that you're going to get through it, and you'll get that way. But you have to have reps. The only way to get better is to have rep, 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 rep. Opportunity of sitting down with people and just working it out, man, getting it out there. And then every little win that you get, you got to remember, or every experience to learn. Like even if you don't close them, you're going to learn something from it, right? Especially when you kind of talk to me, Mary, or Joy, and reflect back what happened. We can give you suggestions on how you could have fixed that.
Mm.
Right. But you got to be in those situations to get the feedback. So, you can't just suddenly become great. You have to go through, the learning curve and the experience. Right.
Well, I've got 2 appointments later.
All right. That's great. See, I love it. I love it.
I'm going to
So,
use these same questions that I've written down.
yeah, I'm going to get you this video and I'll have a transcript of it. And then I think I'll send this out to other people if that's okay, because I think other people can, get the benefit of, some of this coaching. But you'll
100%.
you'll get it, dude. Like really, it doesn't matter how old you are. Everyone starts out where you are, and I was where you were. So
I'm going to get through it.
yeah, man,
I
you
just
can do
hate being
this
a
thing.
rookie.
Yeah. You stub your toe a little bit here and there. You hit the hammer on your thumb. Pretty soon you won't be doing that anymore. You know. But it'll work if you work,
Well, I
right?
appreciate it. It'll definitely work. And I'm not stopping till it works.
That's right. Absolutely. That's cool. All right, dude.
I
Anything else?
appreciate it. No, that's definitely all I need. I'm
Okay.
gonna go run these appointments.
Let's do it, man.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna record them too. I appreciate
Yes.
your time so
Perfect.
much.
No problem, Brody. Take care, brother. We'll see you.
You take care. Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye
You
now.
have a blessed day.
You too.